What's up, Delaware, and welcome into DETV Sports. Another update coming at you here on Thursday night. A special episode tonight. We have a special guest who we'll get to in just a moment, as well as the start of your 2022 NBA Finals. So like we do every week, I'll tell you, Nick Alessandrini joined, of course, by Jason McCall. Jason, how are we feeling on this Thursday? A big, big day for you, maybe more than the other people here today.
Oh,
there it is already. Start of the show.
Oh, man.
Nothing else needs to be said. Good to be here.
And that takes us to our very special guest, and we are so thrilled to have him here to talk a little sports with us here ahead of the NBA Finals. That's our Governor, John Carney. Governor, thank you so much for taking the time to come join us here on a Thursday and talk a little sports with everybody.
Nick, it's great to be here talking sports after spending a day talking more serious issues like gun safety measures in light of what we've seen across the country, terrible happenings in Buffalo and in Texas. But to see that green hat pulled out, you know, as a lifelong 76er fan.
Oh, this hat?
That hat, that's the one with the, is that a leprechaun?
Yes,
on
lucky
there?
leprechaun. Yes.
Lucky leprechaun. I'm really excited, though, about the finals. We got two really, really great teams, and I think it's going to be really fun. It's a whole new game when you think about it.
0-0.
0-0, and to just play the game differently. You don't see anybody very often down posting up like Bill Russell or like Kareem, or I guess if you're a Warriors fan, Nate Thurman. I don't know if you remember Nate Thurman, but he was a post guy. So I'm really excited to see the game tonight and to follow through.
Yeah, it should be a fantastic series. Again, your Celtics, Jason's Celtics, and the Golden State Warriors. That game starts tonight at 9.
Boston
We will
Celtics.
get there here in just a little bit. But Governor, let's start with some in-state stuff and everything that's been going on here in maybe the last year or so. We've seen you at a handful of sporting events around, going back to the G League Finals with the Delaware Bluecoats. We saw you down in Washington, D.C. for the CAA tournament for the men's, also the women's, able to punch, both of those teams able to punch their tickets to the NCAA tournament. We had talked a little before we went on the air about men's lacrosse in the University of Delaware. A lot of success with the sports teams here in the first state, and you've been right there along the way.
Oh, it's been really great. I mean, for me, starting with the Del State UD basketball game down there at the field house there, new coach coming in, a Delaware guy, you know, University of Delaware grad, but now bringing so many of those young players up, including arguably the University of Delaware's best player, who just had a great season and a great final. It's been a great year. It really has for sports in Delaware. University of Delaware men and women's basketball team, as you said, both made it into the tournament. How exciting is that? I was out to Pittsburgh to see Villanova. What a matchup that was. You know, we were playing a little bit above our heads there, but you know,
First couple minutes,
the first couple minutes, the
Right
first
in
half
there.
of the first half, we were
Yeah, that's right, we were. I'll tell you, they got off to a good start.
And a good start, and then on the women's side, you know, they ran up against a tough Maryland team, and I lost a crab cake vote with the Governor Hogan of Maryland. I got to pay up there.
Oh, there you go. See, that's the fun stuff we don't get to hear about.
I mean, how fun was that?
That was
I
awesome.
remember 15, 20 years ago, all these people wanted to bring a hockey arena into Delaware. What's better than the 76ers field house and all the different things that we've got going on down there? We got three of our NFL players are going to do a clinic down there for the high school kids. Brian O'Neill and Reeder, and then the kid from
Darnell
Caravelle,
Savage from Caravelle,
Darnell
first round pick.
Savage. Really exciting, and the Bluecoats. I mean, how fun was that?
It's
to see
been
Doc there and
Tyrese Maxey up there with
in the
us.
final game.
Bo Kimball was also there.
And Bo
watching him.
Kimball,
He was
yeah.
there, so.
Really exciting.
I mean, me and Jason, again, obviously there for the pregame, had you on at halftime. What a phenomenal crowd that was at the field house. You had games, you know, the kids up there. You had the beer garden for the adults upstairs in the mezzanine. Just the emotion, just the crowd, the fan base that we had there for two of those playoff games, just phenomenal.
And the A10, the women's A10 tournament. 5 Delaware women playing on the various teams, one an impactful role in the champion, the Mayo gal from St. Elizabeth.
Led them to a state title in high school here.
Really exciting, really exciting.
I mean, yeah, they've been phenomenal. And again, we talked about that A10 tournament. What a great job the Fieldhouse was able to do for that. Just the signage, everything from that to the fans, and what a phenomenal event. Awesome. The celebration for UMass, Bernaya and Kalasia, who both played here, playing at the University of Massachusetts, and again, winning the A10 tournament. That's something you're going to remember for the rest of your life.
And I want to see that field house. They're coming back next year.
Yeah.
I want to fill it up with Delaware, Newcastle County, City of Wilmington, young girls coming up playing basketball in middle school and high school. That would be really fun. That
would be fun. Again, no better place to do it than at the Chase Fieldhouse, especially going forward. Can only get better from here. It's going to be tough to top what they did here in 2022, but it could only get better. So let's now talk a little bit, Governor, about the local stuff. We're in the pinnacle maybe of our spring sports season. Everything's kind of coming down to a close here in a little while. We just crowned our softball state champions, Caravel, with a rematch of last year's state championship, beating Sussex Central again by 1 run, this time 7-6. So they're your softball state champions. Girls lacrosse, how about Cape Henlopen? And we were talking about them at the top of the year.
13 in a row. I mean, that's like the Boston Celtics of the late 50s and 60s. I mean, come on. Just dominance. They've got it going down there. They've got a great young girls feeder program that goes into Cape. That's the big high school there on the eastern side of the county. And they've just been lighting it up for a lot of years.
And again, I know we went over the stat maybe at the top of the hour, Jason, you too. Cape Henlopen has not lost an in-state girls lacrosse game since 2009.
That's
incredible.
I mean,
that's incredible. So again, congratulations to the Cape Henlopen Vikings, Coach Underwood, and that squad again for bringing home another state championship. Also, guys, Cape Henlopen and Sally's another rematch, right? Here in the state championship of lacrosse. That should be a great one. 12 o'clock on Saturday. We were supposed to have our baseball semifinals tonight at Frawley Stadium. The weather had other plans, so that has been moved to Saturday. We have Conrad and Appo at 5 o'clock, first pitch for Frawley, and then followed by St. Mark's and Cape Henlopen at 8 o'clock.
Who was the second one?
That's right. It was the St. Mark's Spartans. St. Mark's Spartans. There we go, Governor.
And they beat Salesianum the other day.
They did. Salesianum in the quarter, a 7-2 victory for the Spartans. They advanced there.
I guess they split during the year.
In the regular
season.
Twice, yep, 1-1. And then the rubber match went to the Spartans there. We'll take that. I'm sure we'll take that going forward. Coach Smith, obviously, with a ton of success in the postseason. We'll see if we can get another championship potentially this week. But
I got to think that Appo and Cape are the favors in that. Would you say? Or
you said Appo would be the 3 seed. Conrad's the 2 seed this year, so that'll be close. I mean, it's actually it was one of the. The disparity was great coming in. Everybody was kind of maybe 7 teams could win the whole thing. And what do you know? When it's all said and done, we've got 1 versus 5 and 2 versus 3. So those are the seedings coming in. Sally's was the 4 seed before St. Mark's, as the 5 seed was able to advance. That's right, St. Mark's Spartans. There you go, led by head coach Matt Smith. Again, they'll be in action both games Saturday at Frawley Stadium, a doubleheader with the championship set for Monday. So a lot going on.
And shout out for Matt Smith, because he's been battling some health issues and really came back and brought the team along with his assistant coaches. Really great job on that.
Yeah, they've done a phenomenal job this year. And again, Smitty doing better now. And again, big matchup for the St. Mark's Spartans on Saturday. So again, Cape Henlopen, what a year. They've had 18 games in a row they've won. So some big semifinal matchups there on Saturday.
What's interesting about that, when you think about it, is you got the Cape girls 13 in a row, just haven't lost in state. You got the Cape boys lacrosse in the finals with Salesianum again, the perennial final game. But you got boys lacrosse and boys baseball kind of leading the way at Cape Henlopen. How do you get all those athletes?
How about that? Yeah, Cape Henlopen looking at a very successful spring season. Also, phenomenal job during the winter with the wrestling program as well. State champions, able to crown a few individuals as well. So Cape Henlopen, something down in the water down the beach here this season.
Amazing.
So to see how they progress, but they could be looking at a possible 3 spring championships here in the next couple of days. So we'll keep an eye out on Cape Henlopen. Great stuff they're doing down the beach. Again, they got the Spartans, Conrad and Appo, your first matchup set for 5 p.m. So Let's keep it moving here, and we're going to jump into a little bit of the 76ers here, Governor. And again, we're 76ers fans. I know Jason is caught up in his Boston Celtics.
Give us a minute.
I mean, so let's
we're in Delaware anyway. We're in the
try to tell them. I've had to deal with this all season, Governor, you see. And as we get into the 76ers, I mean, the last game we saw was a tough one. At home in Philadelphia. It was 2-2 going into Game 5. Game 5 and 6, Governor, did not look good for the Sixers. Just quickly, again, we haven't talked to you since the end of the NBA season for Philadelphia. What did you see in that series with Miami?
I think Jason hit the nail on the head earlier when he was saying before we went on the air, when Embiid got hurt, I mean, he broke his eye socket, for God's sake, and had to wear that mask, and then his injuries to his hands. And I just think we ran out of gas. We need another impact player on the offensive end. Somebody who can hit the spot up three, somebody who can, give you some minutes and get, 10 to 15 points when you need them.
Did you say James Harden? Oh, is that what you traded in there for?
No.
I was going to ask him about James
We need to get 20-some as we were, but he didn't. He ran out of gas.
Yeah, he did.
And he ran out of gas in part because he didn't have enough help, and he's getting older, I guess, but we ran out of gas, that's for sure.
And again, and something we talked about, Jason, was a familiar face on the other side. That's Jimmy Butler for the Miami Heat. And Governor, I want to ask you about Jimmy.
He did not run out of gas.
He did not. I think
but the last play, think about the last play. He's one-on-one with Orford coming down the court. Time's running out. Finals. He needs 2 points to tie the game up.
You shoot a three. Why?
He had him beat.
I guess
he had Horford beat off the dribble to go to the
basket. There was no help on his right hand. He's one of the best players in the league going to the rim.
And he draws a lot of fouls.
He could have got a three-point play
exactly
old way.
Yep. And
now, he made the quick decision to go for the jugular. You got to love that. Not his best. I'll take him going to the hoop anytime over shooting a three, and it just was short.
Yeah, I'm with you there for sure. But Jimmy, again, back in, I believe, free agents class of 2019, Sixers signed and traded him to Miami. And at the time, the thought was he's leaving a perennial playoff team to go to a Miami team that was maybe in the middle of a rebuild. Well, he took them, again, to the Eastern Conference Finals a few years in the last 4. So he's doing his thing in Miami. Jimmy Butler, wish he was still a Sixer. I'm sure you feel the same way.
Just the kind of player we need.
Exactly right.
If we have Jimmy Butler, I mean, there's probably not enough room for Jimmy with the rest, but
what did he say? Y'all chose Tobias Harris over me. That's what happened.
I mean, he felt that way.
Was that what it was?
That's what he said after the game.
That's not even a close call.
Yeah. And you got Ben Simmons and Brett Brown, who also were at the time, who the Sixers kind of settled with as well over Jimmy Butler during that free agent time. So a lot of, how about that? Would you rather have Ben Simmons or Jimmy Butler?
Well, see, there you go. I mean, when we lost when Ben, fizzled out, that's a big loss. That's a big loss. Because we were, we got Harden to replace him, arguably, but one's starting his career, the other's arguably towards at the end of his career. But that was a big loss for us.
Yeah, and the Sixers having to deal with that the whole first half of the year up till the All-Star break.
We were still there, but we ran out of gas.
We ran out of gas, and again, you look at some of those rotations.
And then I found myself actually rooting for the Celtics. I hope
our Philly faithful around here,
following this tonight because, good Lord. But you gotta love the way the Celtics play. They play defense. They play tough defense. Like you were saying, Jason, Marcus Smart, the guy you want that guy leading you up the hill, right? And he's tough. Boy, he's tough. We'll see how he does against these offensive players.
Against maybe the best shooter of all time. We might see
Splash
that
Brothers
matchup tonight. Yes. And Governor, one thing I was going to ask Jason and as well as Harden do if he were to kick in his player extension, he has that option. He would make about $47 million next year, and that's something that could really handicap the Sixers in terms of a salary cap and maybe adding another piece that we've just talked about that they really do need. If you're the Sixers, how do you go forward? And Jason, you're going to chip in here too. How do you go forward with James Harden? Do you try to maybe negotiate taking a pay cut? Because if he were to opt in that player option, that's going to put the Sixers in a tough spot.
Yeah, I'll defer to Jason on it because I don't follow the economics. I find it takes away from the sports itself when you try to figure out You know, the cap, how much money under the cap, how much money you have available, all of that. I like when Harden started playing with the Sixers. They really came together better, I thought, offensively. They were playing better basketball. He was playing better. They just kind of lost it towards the end. Again, when your best player gets banged up like he did and just is not as effective, we needed one more player. And think of the way Maxey came on. Maxey was just great.
Phenomenal.
Year number 2.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
And that was really exciting. So I'll defer to Jason on the economics of it, but in terms of what to do next, I'd love to see Harden come back and play hard and all the way through. Is he capable of doing that? I don't know.
Yeah, and Jason, I'm kind of with Governor Carney here. I like what I saw to James Harden a little bit. Obviously, not down the stretch when you only shoot one time in the closeout game there for the Sixers. But, I mean, we talked a little bit about this a few weeks ago. What do you do with James Harden? I mean, would you even want him back? I'll ask you as a Celtics fan.
I'll say this. With James Harden, it's deja vu all over again, as Yogi Berra would say. You know, it's Groundhog Day. Every playoffs, he finds a way to disappear. He did it in OKC. Did it in Houston. Is that who you want on your team? But if you keep him on your team, I would say Harden has to lose about 25 or 30 pounds to be actually in shape. He's not in shape. Now, his playmaking ability will always be there. That's one of his strong suits. But you didn't bring him to Philadelphia to be a prototypical point guard. You brought him there to be a scorer. So if he's not scoring the basketball, then why are you here?
But you know, Jason, you don't need a prototypical point guard like you did in the old days, because everybody's dribble handoff, pick and pop in. You know, you look at the Splash Brothers, and with and Poole. Those three guys, they're picking any one of the three of them could be a point guard at any time. Yeah. And I see Maxey and James. James, to me, he needs to have the rock all the time, as opposed to moving it like they do in all these other teams that effectively run the new NBA offense. And the Bluecoats were running that offense. Like Miles Powell, how fun was he to watch?
Oh, man.
That guy's never seen a shot he doesn't like.
Never.
You know?
And he get off the bench as well.
You know, and you can tell he loves playing the game. You just love to see that guy play. He's got a smile on his face, always, out there. He was anyway, I just think, I think they need to play more like some of these other teams without James having the ball all the time. He can be a two-guard shooter.
Yeah. He can be off the ball, but I think if the Sixers want to retain him and he wants to actually still play, I believe James has to actually give them a family-friendly contract discount.
Yeah.
They cannot field a championship team with him getting max money.
Because they need more money to get somebody else. Yeah.
So I believe that what should happen is James take a pay cut. So rather than bringing a player rumored Bradley Beal or Zach LaVine,
wouldn't that be something,
those type of players, somebody who can actually be that scorer that you're mentioning, but also can still bring a bit of defense to the team as well. So you need somebody that can a little bit younger and can kind of cover up for Harden's deficiencies, but also Embiid's and Tobias Harris's deficiencies at certain times of the games. You need that player who can plug in and can cover up everything.
If you're going to compete with the elite teams, with the Celtics, with the Warriors, with Phoenix, with Utah, with Dallas less so, you got to be able to play defense, because those teams play defense. They play really tough, hard. They're long, and they play both ends of the court.
And both teams we're seeing in the finals this year do that. I mean, when you think Warriors, Boston, they're going to be the better defensive team. They have been fantastic defensively the second half of the year, postseason until now.
How did they match up during the year? Anybody know?
The series was split.
1-1.
1-1. That's all they played is twice. If there's a team that can shut down the Splash Brothers, it seems to me that it's the Celtics. Just how long they are in the backcourt and how tough they are playing defense.
But I will say this. When Boston beat Golden State in Golden State, Draymond wasn't back yet. So that is a difference.
Completely
different team.
And again, when you think Warriors, you think offense, but their defense is up there as well, team defense.
No question. Yeah. And I'll tell you, the guy who, to me, is a difference is Wiggins.
He's been the biggest difference in that team.
We need a guy like Wiggins.
Well, he's a free agent. He's a free agent.
Is he?
He will be. Again, I'm not sure they'll let him walk just yet,
a
but
free
they do
agent.
have to sign Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins next offseason, and that's going to be a luxury bill that has never been seen if they were to try to max these guys.
So you mean that they'll go over their
They're
previous
gonna go
luxury bill
over-
they had?
They would go over that.
Oh, wow.
So that's a lot of money to be spent. But again, they want to keep all those guys there, and if you were with the Warriors, wouldn't you?
Oh, absolutely.
I'm with
I don't
you
know
there.
how you do it. I
Yeah, exactly. That's the tough
I try
part,
Not I try not to ruin the sport by thinking about the economics of it. You know?
But again, that's just what everybody's thinking about now for Golden State. But again, we'll get into the finals here in just a second. Before we get into that, Governor, did you happen to see, I'm not sure if you're a Twitter guy or not, I know you're on Twitter.
They don't let me on Twitter.
Have you seen any of Joel Embiid's tweets during that Game 7 from the Miami and the Celtics, tweeting out, had the Philly fans a little bit thrown back a little bit. Here it is on the screen for everybody at home. Miami needs another star. And obviously the relationship with him and Jimmy Butler, a lot of people viewed that as he wanted to go to Miami, and people started freaking out after Game 7. He had to issue another tweet later on and say, everybody calm down, yada, yada. But that tweet, again, talking to Jimmy Butler, they said they still want to be teammates. There's the follow-up tweet. What do you make out of this? Anything for Joel Embiid? That relationship?
One thing, Joel's right. They need another offensive player, another go-to offensive. They were really hurt, in my opinion, in that series without Hero. I mean, he was a big loss. Jimmy Buckets was playing great. They got at a Skews. I also want to call him Skews because he's my ag secretary. They got some points out of him. I thought Bam played well, but they needed another impact player, in my view, and he was the guy. He was what, sixth man of the year?
He was. Kia sixth man of the year, definitely. I mean, when you look at offensive statistics, had to be second on the team in points per game behind Jimmy Butler.
Absolutely.
And for a team as challenged offensively as they were, especially in the half court against
was
Boston,
so obvious.
without Hero and a banged up Jimmy Butler.
It was so obvious, it just cried out for what the need was. They just couldn't. And Butler wasn't taking the ball. I think at some point the coach said, "Hey, you gotta take this game over," because he wasn't asserting himself. He had 40-some, but still.
Yeah, a little bit of those stretches, Jason. Obviously, you were watching those games in between. I believe games 4 and 5, where he was banged up, but he was nowhere to be found. And statistically, those games, I believe he had 9 points and maybe 11 points in those 2 games. But he's been playing banged up that whole series.
Games 4 and 5, he went 7 for 29 from the field, shooting 19%. Not going to win any games.
Not going to win games like that.
But I will say this.
But you got to give Boston some credit there. And you got to give Butler some credit to come back.
Game 6.
That game
6 was incredible in Boston. That game 6 was incredible. But I'll also say this. Just touch on the Heat a little bit more. Kyle Lowry, that was a bad deal.
And again, he's battling injury, but he didn't look anything like the Kyle Lowry that we're used to seeing. Except when those last 2 games where he came back in 6 and 7, he didn't look terrible in those games.
But you don't pay him $30 million for 3 years
true too.
to produce what he did. But also, if I were Coach Spoelstra in Miami, I would have used Marcus Morris a lot more. Against that
Didn't
Celtics,
see him at all.
He hardly played at all.
Yeah, at all.
Against that Celtics team, who he played for before, he would have been a little better against those players. In stretches, if you will.
And I do think he's still battling some of that injury. I think that was kind of the reason. I think we would have seen him otherwise. I know ever since that was the beginning of the year, Jokic hit him from behind. That was a big deal in the NBA. But I think he had to be.
You said the fake MVP Jokic? Is that what you said?
Yeah, there you go. Exactly right. Team 3-1 in the 4-4-1 in the first round to the Golden State Warriors. So let's go right into the NBA Finals. We touched on it a little bit.
Let's do it.
But let's talk about it. Boston Celtics and Golden State Warriors. Here we go. Boston coming off a few Game 7s there. Golden State with a little bit more rest, taking care of business in 5 against Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks. Regular season split, as we talked about a few minutes ago, 1-1. The Warriors 53-29 in the regular season. The Celtics 51-31, including one of the best second halves to a regular season that we have ever seen from Boston. And again, Jason, I'll ask you this one here. They played 12 games now in 23 days. So they're having a game every other day here. Do you think that has any type of effect on Boston now that Golden State has a little bit more of a break coming into Game 1?
No, because of the break right now they've had since Sunday coming into today. And then
they haven't had a break like that in a long time.
And then the NBA Finals has a few breaks in between the games as well. So and they're younger than the Warriors actually. So I think they're going to rest of all those nicks and bruises. It just gives Marcus Smart's ankle and everything more time to heal. Gives Robert Williams needs more time to heal, and just Horford, he's the old man on the totem pole, so it gives him more time to just heal up. But it actually been more beneficial for the Warriors because they're going to get GP2 back tonight, the game one.
Again, he's questionable. That would be something if he is able to play, coming off that elbow injury to Dillon Brooks. Governor, I'm going to ask you maybe sort of the same question there. Rest play a factor here maybe for Golden State?
I think so. I mean, I think who has who's most fit, who can involve more of the players on the bench. I mean, it's they're coming off brutal series. The Warriors, as you said, have a little bit more of a rest. But if you look at the backcourt, Curry and Clay against Tatum and Brown, and Marcus, I don't know. Boy, I'll tell you that's a strong defense that the Celtics have, and they're going to wear those two guys down. So I think Jordan Poole, he's had a great year. He doesn't play great defense, but it's going to be
putting it nicely. That's putting it nicely. He doesn't play great defense.
Any defense.
He doesn't play any defense. No, you're going to have to play defense in this final. You're going to have to play against Brown or Tatum. I tell you, the other guy where's he from, Wisconsin or whatever? That guy can shoot it too for the Celtics. He's really come along. What's his name? Is it on here?
They got Peyton Pritchard, Derek
Pritchard.
White.
Yeah.
Peyton Pritchard has had, and I didn't even put him on here. That's against me, but he's been great, and he's elevated his level of play in the postseason.
He learned how to play defense from last year this year, because last year he was our defensive liability.
They try to do it too, to pick and make him switch onto the best offensive player on the other. But I'll tell you what, he's the kind of offensive threat that the Sixers need coming off the bench. That kind of guy who can post it up like George Niang. I love George comes in. He knows what his role is.
Yes,
Give me the ball in the corner and I'm going to shoot that three. But obviously very different players. But I think he can be a factor as well, particularly when you're going to get those guys. They're going to be on the bench, getting some rest, and he can in there and fill it up, get him some points.
And again, we talked a little bit about this already, but I think it's going to be, at least in my opinion, one of the best finals we've seen here, at least in the last couple years. There's been some good ones. Warriors' sixth final in 8 years. So how about that? You think the Bulls maybe in the 90s there as the last team to accomplish that feat, but 6 finals in 8 years, you don't see that very often.
You really don't. You got some really great players on both teams. It's going to be a great series, I think. And the crowds, San Francisco, the Bay Area isn't known for the enthusiasm of their crowd. But I'll tell you what, those Warrior fans are pretty excited.
Well,
the Boston fans, that's a whole different
I'll say this.
Those guys are crazy.
The Warriors are known for their fans, but this is a new arena. Now, the old Oracle was called the Oracle in Oakland. Mm-hmm. That arena was super loud. This new one, Chase Center, still getting it.
It's a little bit bigger, the sound.
A little bit bigger, but the sound escaping. But the old arena, that was probably one of the loudest arenas in all of the NBA. So 2 great fan bases, I'll say. But for me, this series will come down to turnovers. Whoever turns over the ball the least is going to win this series, because both teams average high number of turnovers. The Celtics give the ball away, and Golden State gives the ball away. So whoever limits their turnovers the most throughout the series, that's who's going to win. Forget all the points and everything else. Turnovers will determine this series.
And Jason, I go back to you here with this one as a Celtics fan. Again, allowing you to be here on the desk with me and Governor Carney, who are Philadelphia 76ers fans.
I would have bought my Sixers hat, but
Well, allow me to show you why I am a Celtics fan.
Oh my God!
He's got everything, Governor, as you can see.
Reggie Lewis. I am from Baltimore, and this is my first superstar I ever met as a kid. Been a fan.
And you might as well show the watch.
Where did Reggie play in Baltimore?
The Dunbar High
Dunbar.
School. And he played at Northeastern University. Coach Jim Calhoun's first real superstar in college.
I remember when he played at Northeast.
We can do that.
So there's a great picture of a Dunbar team that had Muggsy Bogue and
Reggie Lewis,
Reggie
Williams.
Yeah, all those guys who played at Georgetown.
Yes.
What a team.
The 1982-83 Dunbar Poets, the greatest high school team of all time.
What year was it?
1982-83. They were undefeated.
82, 83.
How about that, right?
Yeah.
My dad was in high school maybe in 82, 83. So there you
It
go.
was a hell of a team. There's no question about that. I don't know about the best all time.
And Reggie Lewis was the sixth man on that team made it to the NBA. Sixth man in high school was to made it to the NBA.
Well, again,
That's
and
right,
if you
so-
were with us earlier in the season, Jason, a big North Carolina Tar Heel fan, if you were unaware, Governor, and
I was
he
not aware
picked
of
them to win the championship in the first weekend, back when they were the 8 seed, I believe, right, Jason? He picked them to win it. We all kind of looked at him, and he was like, they ended up beating Baylor the next week. They got all the way to the NCAA championship.
And choked in the last 8 minutes
lost.
of the game.
So is that a little foreshadowing? Are the Celtics going to get all the way to the NBA championship and then tear his heart out against Golden State? We're going to get to our picks in a little while, so don't answer just yet. But Jason, here quickly, let me read you a statistic. The final 3 minutes of the fourth quarter of this postseason, quickly, who do you want taking the final shot if you're as a Celtics fan?
Honestly, for me, I'm going to throw a wild card name out there for you.
I knew he would.
I'd rather have Jaylen Brown take the last shot.
Jaylen Brown. Well, there you go. I'm going to give you a statistic between Jason Tatum and Marcus Smart. Jason Tatum, first team All-NBA this season. So a top 5 player potentially this year in the association. Jason Tatum, 10 of 17, 2 of 4 from beyond the arc in the final 3 minutes of the fourth quarter this postseason. Marcus Smart, 3 of 20, 0 for 8 from beyond the arc. So Jason, what does that say? Marcus Smart not only takes more shots in the final 3 minutes of games, and not to mention he took 5 of them in a row in that Game 7 against Miami that almost let Jimmy Butler hit that shot that would have won the game. What's going on there? Is Marcus Smart your go-to guy in the clutch?
No, he just ends up having the ball in his hands, and he needs to get the ball out of his hands. So Coach Udoka looks at Marcus Smart all the time when he does that. If you're watching the Celtics game,
So you think he's putting a stop to it after that Game 7, after
he's
the
putting a
5
stop
misses
to
in a row?
it. But he knows that Marcus Smart is the engine of that team. He's a straw that stirs the drink.
There's the
but,
shot.
But honestly, Marcus Smart, even from college, he's never been known as a shooter. We know this. He's a scorer, not a shooter. So he should not have the ball in his hands taking the last shot. Now, Tatum was still good, 10 for 17. But I think
Way better.
But I think that when you add the Jaylen Brown element, he can shoot or drive to the basket. He drives to the basket a lot more than Tatum. But also, even if you want to throw another guy out there as an X factor, Derek White. Coach Udoka has said Derek White is actually the best pace player on the team. He knows when to speed up, he knows when to slow it down, and he just knows when to go and do his thing. So Derek White again saved Boston even in the Milwaukee series, but even did more of it in the Miami series, because without his points in Game 5, they're down, 3-2 in. So,
And again,
yeah.
that's a big free agent, trade acquisition at the deadline for Brad Stevens and the Boston Celtics, able to get Derek White from San Antonio, and is having quite the impact here in the postseason.
Yeah, Brad Stevens is a better GM than he was a coach. I'll just put it up there.
He wasn't a bad coach either for those years. Took the Sixers down a few times in the playoffs.
When you coach in the NBA, NBA is not college. You have to learn how to coach egos. He can coach X and O's, great, but you have to coach people when you're an NBA head coach.
That's a big
And
part
if
of
you
it.
can't manage people, then you're not going to be a successful NBA coach.
So we already talked a little bit about our X factors here for the finals, the series in total here. Jason, what was your X factor?
I believe, again, the X factor is going to be the play of Derek White, and if Big Al can muster anything like he did in the Milwaukee or the Miami series.
So again, Al Horford, over 43% from 3, shot 50% from the floor, gave him 12, 9.5, and 3.5. And Governor, he didn't give us that in Philly for that short period of time.
No, he did not. And I got to tell you, I said this earlier, I confess, it was a confession earlier when I said that I found myself rooting for the Celtics, which is blasphemy for me.
Me too. I would.
And I did, because I saw these guys playing. They just wanted to win. They played together as a team. They played tough defense. They played the game the right way. I love the way their coach coached. You gotta love them. Same thing can be said about the Warriors, frankly. And you kept saying, who do you want to take the last shot? If I'm the Celtics, I got Tatum and Brown. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You double up,
Whoever's open,
one,
right?
and look at, you got their numbers here. They're almost the same. From three.
That's true. Yep.
From the floor. They're both long and lean and athletic. They can take the ball to the rim, or they can shoot the three. They can shoot the mid-range. It's tough. It's tough to. So you got two guys that you can go to. Maybe the answer is which big guy is going to step up. Which big guy is going to step up
I agree.
and really big difference. I like Wiggins. I mean, I just like the way he's played. And, of course, on the other side, Al Horford has been tremendous to me for the Celtics. You know, with Draymond Green and that kind of enthusiasm, maybe the Warriors have a little bit of an edge there, but I wouldn't count out those big guys, you know.
And you mentioned Wiggins, not only doing his part on the offensive end, you know, the highlight is that defense.
Jeez.
I mean, he was on Luka from, you know, tip off until the end of the game, and he's long. He can be physical. You know, he's a big body, and he can play defense, Jason.
I'm going to give Andrew Wiggins his flowers yet again. We're talking about a player who was the #1 overall pick in the draft about 7 years ago. He came in very hyped, great skill set. He just went to the wrong situation in Minnesota.
And I believe what they called him coming in, I think the Canadian Michael Jordan.
Canadian Jordan, yeah, they called him the Canadian Jordan. So we're not talking about somebody who was chopped liver. He just needed the right system and the right coach to showcase his full talent. And now he's in Golden State. I mean, they rehab players. I mean, heck, they made Iguodala a Finals MVP. So
and again,
they're used to that type of skill set.
Steph back in 2015.
They're used to that 6'7", 6'9" wingman, swingman player. Who can,
That's the new game.
That's the new game.
That you're
Two-way
playing.
wings.
And Wiggins fits that.
Yeah.
Yes, he does. And again, he was great. He was actually, you know, I believe received a vote for Western Conference Finals MVP. Curry
He was an
getting
all-star
the
this year.
inaugural MVP.
He's an
award.
all-star this year.
Starter,
Starter.
all-star starter. Yeah.
Starter.
So Andrew Wiggins, again, I'm with you, Governor. I think he's going to be a big X factor in this series, and I think it goes without saying he's going to be. I believe he'll start on Jason Tatum tonight. Would be my guess, like they did on Luka. And then Draymond every now and then they switch off. But I think it's going to be Wiggins to start. What do you think?
I think Wiggins is going to start on Jaylen Brown.
I mean, you can't either way, right? I mean, if you're
I think they're going to put Thompson on
Tatum.
Give him a different matchup.
And again,
So
Clay,
who's Curry play?
Curry's going to play zone defense by himself. That's what he's gonna do.
he's going to have to try to stay in front of Marcus Smart. I mean, Marcus Smart's going to be physical.
Marcus
He's
Smart
gonna
can
go right at him.
so they might post up Marcus Smart more in this series just because they're playing against Steph.
Offensively.
Offensively, they'll put Marcus Smart in the post.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see what they do there.
And we can obviously anticipate the Defensive Player of the Year, Marcus Smart. He's going to have maybe the toughest task of all, and that's going to be chasing Steph Curry around that hardwood all game long.
Steph is the most conditioned player in the NBA since Reggie Miller. He took Reggie Miller's blueprint to another level, but also remember, after the 2016 finals when they lost to Cleveland, Steph got bigger. So
Finish at the rim,
he
right?
added the muscle to finish more at the rim, and it added on to his conditioning, running through screens and double team, things like nature. So Marcus Smart's gonna have his work cut out for him as far as running around. But again, by the Celtics able to switch 1 through 5, he won't be the primary defender every time that the Warriors have the ball. You can switch around, but I look at Marcus Smart and I look at Draymond Green as the same player, just on different teams, and Draymond's a little bit bigger. But they're the same player. They anchor both teams. Both teams run through those two guys, and everything else happens after that. So that's normally what's going to happen in this series. Draymond's going to talk trash. He's going to play defense. Marcus Smart's going to talk trash and play defense. And then it's going to be like Shaq says all the time. What will the others do? Whose others will show up more? Boston's others or Golden State's others? And that's the key to the series.
Governor, what do you think there?
Well, I think, Nick, what you said earlier is right. 12 games in 23 days. I mean, it's going to be who can outlast the other team and who's got more juice in Game 7 if it goes all the way, which I think the chances are it will go to Game 7. And so who's got enough juice at the end? It's hard to say. I mean, you know, the Celtics could physically, you know, beat the Warriors down a little bit, or the other way around. You know, I think, you know, Curry runs circles the whole
Everybody.
game. I mean, I don't know how he does it, but I think at the end of 24 days, 23 days, you're gonna see some tired puppies out there.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because you look at the Eastern Conference and Western Conference finals and just throughout the playoffs, both teams having different paths, right? You look at Boston, they had 7-game series as physical can be with Milwaukee, a team that's great defensively, and then you get Miami, another team that's very physical, better defensively than offensively, and then you got the Warriors who were playing some other teams that weren't near as physical, not near as defensive as the Mavericks were okay defensively, but it was more the Warriors' offense. And now you got the Warriors taking, maybe they're going to get their first real look at a team that's that physical defense.
But see, that's the thing. If you think about the new game, everybody's running, everybody's moving. Just think about the Mavs and the Warriors, right? The Mavs, Luka's got the ball most of the time. It's almost like the Sixers with James.
Yeah.
He's got the ball. Everybody else is standing around. That's not the way the Warriors play. They're running. They're picking and rolling. They're dribble handoff. They're side to side, passing the ball around. When I played so many centuries ago, you never throw a cross-court pass like they do today. They throw a pass corner to corner.
One arm with Steph. Yeah, he'll launch it all the way over. In the air.
And they'll drive the ball to the rim and then turn
Kick
around
it back
and
out.
kick it back out to the
For a three-pointer.
Like, what are you doing? But all that movement is going to take a toll over 23 days, that many games.
And like I said, Jay, I think it's going to be kind of both teams might be a little shell-shocked early just for the length and the size of Boston. Golden State hasn't had that through 1 through 5 yet in the playoffs. And again, Celtics have not played a team as offensively talented, especially in the half court, whatever you want to say, as the Golden State Warriors so far this playoffs either. So I think both teams are in for something new.
Well, they're both top ranked in offense and defense ratings this year, so especially the Celtics since Christmas break.
And the Warriors' #1 offense in the postseason.
And the Celtics #1 defense regular season and in the postseason as well. So it's going to be 1 versus 1. Who's going to cancel out who? But also, I like to say, with the Warriors, Jordan Poole, if he has anything close to what he did in that second round series versus the Grizzlies,
Offensively, like points per game,
watch out. But at the same token, if Robert Williams can stay healthy for this whole series, he negates Looney and he negates Draymond Green. The key to the Warriors winning this series, another key, the Warriors' rotation isn't that deep once they get in foul trouble. Boston, you can kind of throw about 8 to 9 men out there
got that.
in the rotation who can actually contribute consistently and not worry about somebody only being on the bench. But if Draymond gets in foul trouble or if Clay gets in foul trouble, they're a totally different team.
And that's
Yeah, to me, that's a big point. Going back to the number of games that they've played and the movement. You get those guys, get them some rest, and they're ready to go at the end of that fourth quarter. It's going to make a difference, and whose bench steps up, I think will make a difference there at the end.
And again, we'll see Jason, a guy that we've highlighted a few times, Jonathan Kuminga, averaging just 10 minutes a game in 12 games here in the postseason, but 7 points, 2 rebounds in those 10 minutes. Maybe he'll give him a little bit. Again, we mentioned Gary Payton II.
Yeah, but I'll also pull to be back too.
Both of those guys questionable, so we'll see.
Iggy's
if
coming back.
We'll see.
Iggy's coming back.
Maybe he's got another Finals MVP in his future here in 2022.
Steph's legacy cannot take another Finals MVP
Well,
from
you led
anybody
me
else.
right to the next question right here. I have it circled. How big is this Finals here in 2022 for the legacy of Steph Curry? Obviously, the inaugural Larry Bird Trophy, the Eastern Conference MVP, going to him. You saw the celebration. They were all real excited, like it had been that award that he had been longing for so long. But obviously, it's not the same winning a Conference Finals MVP as it would a Finals MVP. Governor, I'll start with you here. How big is this Finals for Steph Curry and his legacy?
I think it's huge. Well, I think his legacy is already partially set. He's changed the game clearly. Absolutely. With the way he's been able to shoot 3-pointers. One of my sons was a big math guy in high school and in college, and he used to talk about if you can shoot threes at about 40%, it's
he was
way
ahead
better.
of his time, right?
It's way better
He'd be good coach now.
than shooting twos at 50 whatever percent. And that's what Seth has done. And so now you see the offense is centered around the perimeter. You don't see Joel Embiid down on the box,
right,
which drives me crazy, by the way.
It drives everyone insane.
But it's a different game. So he I think is the main reason that the game has changed like that. I think whether you're the best ever, there are different categories. We were talking about this before we went on, and different of these players that are in categories of their own. Jordan, Chamberlain, Russell. You could go Magic. You name them all. and he'll eventually be in that, but winning championships. Like Bill Russell just won championships.
11.
11. In case anybody was asking.
In case anybody was wondering,
In case
Jason will
anybody was
educate you a little bit.
You know, Jordan, and LeBron. I mean, how do you say that LeBron's not, you know, one of the best ever?
You can't. And for the LeBron haters, please stop. This man's been in the NBA since out of high school. He went to, 9 straight finals?
8 or 9, yeah.
9 straight finals in a row, and he went, what 3 and 6?
How many did he win?
4. I'm sorry, like 9, 10 finals, 9 finals, and went 4 and 5 in the finals.
Yep, 1, 2 with the Heat, 1 with the Cavs, 1 with the Lakers. And again,
But
obviously it
he's
doesn't
going to the
matter what
final
I think,
I
don't know if the
year,
bubble was, if you can count the bubble as a
We're talking about every year from 2010 to 2018, teams in the
Yeah,
finals.
it was. And that's why it was so weird a few years ago not seeing LeBron in the playoffs, and then he has that run in the bubble with Anthony Davis.
With Anthony Davis, another story, another day.
Yeah, we could talk about the Lakers
But
all show.
he's a physically dominant
Player.
human being and player, right?
We may not see someone like him.
Steph Curry is not a physically dominant player.
Like
He's
one
got
you would-
incredible quickness, incredible coordination. He's a hell of a golfer, by the way.
Yeah, that's right.
He's a hell of a golfer.
Almost on the
He
Pro
is.
Tour, he's like right
And
below that.
but what he does, it's beyond amazing what he does. Same thing with Michael, but Michael was Jordan, a physically gifted athlete. All these guys are tremendous athletes. LeBron, though, physically is in a category of his own.
Absolutely.
Seth Curry, not.
He might not even stick out down the street, right? You'll see him at the grocery store.
185
Wouldn't think anything
pounds?
Yeah,
but-
he's about 6'4", about 190. Yeah.
You know, we were talking
6'2".
about Iverson was
6'3".
165
Yeah.
playing against these guys.
Soaking wet.
So they say. So they say.
And they're
you
listed. They're
gotta
probably lighter than that.
Put it in some kind of context that way, you know, and they're different. You know, they're all in their own ways, you know, on basketball Mount Rushmore, to use your phrase.
That's right. I won't
Who's
put you
your
guys
Mount
on the
Rushmore?
spot today. We'll talk a little bit about that maybe on another show where we'll give our Mount Rushmores of basketball. But we could talk about that for 40 minutes, I'm sure, as well. Jason, does it affect his legacy? What do you think?
I'm going to also agree with the governor that Steph's legacy is already partially cemented because of the impact he's had on the game. No player really impacted the game. You have about 4 players in the past 25 years who impacted the game like that. You have Steph, you have His Royal Highness Michael Jordan when he came to the league, you have Shaq, and you have Iverson. Iverson was that guy who, no matter how small he was, you couldn't stop him. He affected the game to where defense had to change. They banned his first crossover. They banned that his rookie year. So Steph's in that category. People who have
That wasn't called
defining-
that was called a carry.
You got to get away with anything today. If you could travel,
Think about how
carry,
quick
run around.
Iverson must have been to make those incredible athletes look like they're standing still. I mean, how quick
I
must
still
he have
watch
been?
the highlights today. I mean, it truly was incredible to watch. And I remember, I think I was 7 in 2001. But whew,
I'm sorry, you said you were what in 2001, sir?
2001?
Yeah.
7?
Oh, okay. But yeah, Iverson, just to talk about him for a second, he's a legend everywhere, especially here. Iverson was the best football player to ever play in the NBA.
Phew, he was great. He could quarterback, man.
He didn't want to play basketball. He wanted to play football professionally.
Did you ever see him return kicks and punts in high school?
Yes, at
Oh my
Bethel
God.
High School. Yeah. He,
Imagine trying to tackle Allen Iverson.
so imagine this: Michael Vick had to break all Allen Iverson's high school football records in Virginia.
Right.
Think about that. We're saying think about that for a second.
See, athlete. That's why Allen
Athlete.
Iverson.
Well, you
again.
know who else is from not quite down that far east, but in that region of Virginia is Moses Malone.
Yes, he is.
Petersburg.
Petersburg.
Moses Malone, man, what a success he was with Philadelphia. Again, Charles Barkley says one of his most important teammates of his career, Moses Malone, he was the one that told him to get in shape.
Yeah, he told me he was fat. Made
He
him
told him
cry.
he was fat, told him to get in shape, and it worked out for Charles Barkley. So let's again talk just about a quick statistic here for the Warriors and the Celtics. It's very interesting here. The Warriors have been an absolute dynamite fourth quarter team. Over their 16 playoff games, they have been outscored by 7 points over the first 3 quarters, but they're plus 94 in the fourth quarter throughout the
Say that
playoffs.
again.
Jason, they can
Plus-
be going in losing, it seems like, every third quarter and still winning the fourth. Plus 94
94.
in the fourth quarter in the postseason. What does that tell you?
That's a whole game in 1 quarter. Plus 94. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, there's nothing you can say about it, but that's incredible. I mean, Well, we've always known with this current iteration of the Warriors since 2015, no lead is ever safe against the Warriors because no one can outshoot them, and you can't really outscore them a lot of the time. So honestly, your lead has to be at least 30 points for me to be like, okay, you're going to win this game if you're up in the fourth quarter. If it's anywhere between 10 to 15, forget about it. That's 3 shots. And a couple trips to the free throw line. The Warriors are just that good on offense. They have been for the last 7, 8 years now. So that's to be expected, to be honest with you. And when you have a healthy Klay back now, which is the key, because Klay was one of the best two-way players in the league before he had those 2 injuries and missed those 2 years. So you add Klay back with his shooting, and people forget, Klay is not a small guy. Klay is 6'7", 230.
He's a big guy.
He's a big guy who shoots like Steph, but can also put you in the post. So he has a more rounded offensive game, and they're going to need a lot of that in this series. But that plus 94, it makes sense. But also, when you go about even throwing it to Boston, best second quarter team in the playoffs. So whose best is going to get stopped first? Is it going to be the Warriors' full quarter scoring, or is it going to be the Celtics scoring in the first half? And that's the numbers game. Who stops who?
And again, the Warriors are also 8-0 after leading after 3 quarters. So if they're leading after 3, they are undefeated. Also, Governor, undefeated at home in the entire postseason at the, I believe it's the Chase Center now, right? So we got the Chase Fieldhouse. They've got the Chase Center. The only team that had the record after trailing, as the statistic we just went over, was the 2010-2011 Dallas Mavericks, led by Dirk Nowitzki, NBA champs, upset
the team that beat Miami the first year of the Big Three.
So again, we'll see if that happens again this year. But Governor, what do you think? The Warriors' best fourth quarter team, the Celtics the best second quarter
I'll
team.
tell you, I just see these data that you have here, and they're staggering. If you think about what we've been saying over the last several minutes, that it's going to come down to who's got who has the most juice at the end of the game, and to see the way the Warriors have played at the end of the game, and particularly the way Curry, he's shooting 44% from three-point range in the fourth quarter.
That's clutch,
are you kidding me? I'm like, are you kidding me? And 90% from the free throw line. You better not foul anybody on the Warriors towards
you
the
can't.
end, too.
You can't afford it.
I mean, I didn't know that those numbers were what they are, but those are pretty staggering numbers.
And again, it's also interesting. We talk about the Warriors being undefeated at home. Well, the Celtics have been kind of the road warriors here in the postseason.
Play on the road.
7 wins on the road here throughout the Eastern Conference playoffs to get to this point. So again, Golden State's great at home, Jason, but Boston's almost just as good on the road.
Honestly, Boston plays better on the road than they do at home. It's been like that way the whole playoffs. I don't know what it is, but they score more on the road. They're more locked in defense on the road. I don't know what it is, but they actually play like they pass the eye test when they're on the road. At home, they win games, but on the road, like they're locked in. They pass the eye test. They feed off the crowd, the energy of the opposing team booing and all that. They feed off of that. So that would explain that to me. But yeah, somebody's will has to break, whether it's the best home team or the best road team, and we're going to see that in this series. And I believe the series, I'm not going to pick the game 1 yet, but I believe that this series doesn't go, the series goes a minimum 6 games, either way. It's going to be 6 or 7, nothing less than that.
And again, I'm not going to ask you for your winner yet, though I have an idea of who Jason will be picking here in the 2022 NBA Finals. But Governor, Jason, we're here towards the end of the show, so I figured we'd do a couple fun pick-ems here for you guys. So I'm going to ask you guys a question, and you're going to pick one or the other. Are you guys ready for the series? We'll start with the series. Guys ready to go?
Ready.
Jason, I'll start with you here, and you'll both will answer. Best duo, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, or Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown?
I'm living in the moment. Tatum and Brown.
All right, Tatum and Brown for Jason. Governor, what do you think? Best duo in the finals, who's it going to be?
I'm going to be a politician. Tatum and Brown on D, and Curry and Klay on F.
There you go. That's the best answer right there, right? And how about this one? Governor, we'll start with you for this one. More defensive impact in this series. Marcus Smart for the Celtics, Draymond Green for the Warriors. And we know you've said a lot about Wiggins, or is it going to be Wiggins as the main defensive guy for Golden State?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Wiggins.
Wiggins over Smart and
I
Green?
would pick Wiggins opposite Smart. Smart's got to come up big against one of the Splash Brothers.
Yeah, he's gonna have to try to slow him down a little bit. Jason, what do you think? Best defensive impact?
I'm going to give you names not on here.
I like that.
Robert Williams.
Robert Williams, the defensive anchor the paint, play free safety under there.
Play free safety. He can guard guards from the free throw line down. He can't play perimeters too well, but if you free throw line in, he can kind of keep in front of the guards. He's going to be the key guy.
I like the way he's played too. I think
Yeah,
he's
been
really
good,
stepped up big for them.
With that injury coming back too in the middle of the postseason. All right, head coach, who would you rather have here for the NBA Finals? Ime Udoka or Steve Kerr? Jason, we'll start with you.
Phil Jackson. No, but this
is your team too, so a little bit of a tougher question for you.
No, it's not tough at all. Steve Kerr has been proven. I mean, they have.
That's what I say.
They have 3 rings, but he's also the incoming new coach of USA men's basketball team. So it definitely goes to Steve Kerr.
Governor?
Yeah, it's a tough one I think it's a coin toss, but I like the way Udoka has that team playing. Kerr's challenge is to keep his stars, reasonably within the system. But it just seems to me, watching him on the sidelines, that Udoka just has to, he works to get his guys playing defense at a really high level. Yeah. And that's hard to do because it's, they're chasing guys around, they got to play at the other end of the court, and then they come down, you want to catch a blow a little bit down there, but, it doesn't happen. So I think that's a toss-up, but I like the way Udoka has coached. As we were talking earlier, I think the way he coaches that team to play defense is really impressive.
Yeah, they've been, again, one of the best second halves of a season, including the playoffs, that we've ever seen in the NBA. So again, game one, just an hour away. We'll keep moving. Crowd, we touched on this a little bit earlier, guys. Better crowd, San Francisco or Boston? Governor, start with you for this one.
Well, I'm a Philly fan. We hate
that's
Boston.
That's number one, right?
And we know that we hate them because their crowd is so amazing. And so loud and so obnoxious, and
yes, they are.
They're in a class by themselves.
Jason, best crowd.
The Warriors do not play at the Royal anymore in Oakland. They play at Chase Center. It's a wine and cheese type of crowd now. I'm gonna go with the Celtics TD Garden fans.
TD Garden, there you go. Jason, stick with you again. Before we get into our game one picks, series picks right now, Jason. Number of games, who's your 2022 NBA champion? Again, it all gets underway in less than an hour.
Oh, you got me? Okay. Let me do this here.
That could be a finals hat soon? Is that what you're saying?
6 games.
6 games. Celtics in 6.
They win the championship in Boston, game 6.
Banner number?
18.
18. We'll see if that happens or not. Jason's taking the Celtics in 6. Governor, over to you here. Should be a great NBA Finals.
It'll be a great final, and I'm going to hope that it goes all the way to 7 and the Warriors win on the West Coast in 7.
Governor, we got a lot in common today. The same marks a little bit earlier. I'm going the Warriors in 7 as well as my pick. Again, I've had the Warriors since the opening of the playoffs, so I'm going to
I'll give you that.
I'm going to ride it. I'm going to say Golden State takes it all the way here for, again, wow, what title number 4, I believe, right?
4 for them. It would be number 6 overall for the Warriors.
So how about that? Title number 4. But let's get to the game one picks. This one starts in 45 minutes. Let's run through these here. A lightning round on DETV. Jason, more points tonight, Steph or Tatum?
Steph.
Governor, Steph or Tatum, more points tonight in game 1?
I'm with Jason, Steph.
Steph. More rebounds, Horford and Robert Williams or Andrew Wiggins and Draymond Green combined, Jason?
Oh, that's Horford and Williams.
Horford and Williams? Governor?
I got Wiggins and Green.
Wiggins and Green. More threes, Jordan Poole and Klay Thompson or Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown? Governor, I'll start with you for this one.
Yeah, you mixed that one up.
No Steph there for you, right?
Sneaky, right? Boy, that's a tough one. I'd say Tatum and Brown.
Tatum and Brown, Jason.
Ooh. I'm going to go with the Splash cousin. I'm going to go with Poole.
The pool party. It's a pool party.
And
Clay's
Klay.
invited, right?
Yeah, Clay's invited, yeah.
So threes, I'm going to go with tonight, game 1. I'll go Jordan Poole and Klay just because they're at home here in game 1. they shoot maybe a little bit better at the Chase Center. And then last one here, will there be a flagrant one or a technical foul tonight? What do you got Draymond Green playing? You got Marcus Smart playing? What do you think?
It's not a matter of will there be one, how many will there be? That's the better question. How many will there be?
So it should have been over-under.
Should have been over-under. There's going to be one from somebody.
So one? How many do you think you're going to get tonight?
I think you'll probably have 2 technical fouls. I think it might
technicals.
I think it might be a situation where it's going to be a double technical situation.
So there's your fortune teller right there, Jason McCall. 2 and a double tech, 2 technicals tonight. Governor, flagrant one or technical tonight? What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think
Clean
it'll be pretty
game?
clean out on the West Coast. Maybe when they come back to ball.
Yeah, there you go. I'm going to say I think there will be a few reviews, as we usually see, maybe 2 or 3 flagrant reviews. I'm going to go clean tonight too, even though game 1 of the finals might get a little chippy maybe to start. I'm going to go clean game as well. I'll say a few reviews, but no flagrants or technicals. So that about wraps it up here on DETV. A little bit of your 2022 NBA Finals preview. Governor Carney, thank you so much
I thought
for
you were
being
going to
able to
ask
join us.
who was going to win the St. Mark's Cape Henlopen baseball.
You know what? What do you think, Governor?
I'll go with the Spartans.
Go with the Spartans. That's going to be a big one again. It's a doubleheader at Frawley Stadium. If you're free on Saturday, head on over to Frawley. Again, 5 and 8 o'clock for your DIAA baseball semifinals. Jason, how you feeling about 45 minutes away from your Celtics taking the hardwood here in Game 1 of the NBA Finals?
Well, I need to go home and get ready. That's what I feel
He's like, let's wrap it up so I can get
He's got his lid on. He's got to be
That's right,
ready
he got the
already.
jersey,
You got more.
too,
You
right?
put your jersey on.
And Governor, I'm not sure if you've seen his shoes. He's got the Celtics shoes on, too.
Oh, no.
These other things?
Camera, we need a camera twist over a little bit to catch those shoes.
Yeah,
Don't
you
worry.
don't have.
There,
There you
nice little there
go.
it
Look at
is.
those.
What do you say?
shoes.
It's got to be the shoes. There you go. Right there.
The shoes.
Oh, and the watch, too. There we go. All right.
Celtics
my
in
God.
6 for Jason McCall. Governor Carney and I have the
Warriors in
Warriors
7.
in 7, but should be a great NBA Finals. All get started on ABC in about 45 minutes. Governor, thank you so much. Appreciate it, and we hope to have you back real soon.
I'd love to come back. Nothing beats talking sports, particularly Delaware sports, and it's really been fun to be here. Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much, Governor. Jason, again, we will be back, I believe, on Saturday morning. We'll have to double check, but you get home and you get ready. A big finals game just around the corner. So for Governor Carney, Jason McCall, I'm Nick Alessandrini. Thank you all so much for tuning in here on DETV. NBA Finals just around the corner. We'll see you Saturday morning.